Alright, so today's video is unfortunately not going to be a little bit different. Today we are going to be taking a look here at a clip of Hillary Rodham Clinton speaking at an event for Israel's most popular newspaper and saying that young Americans and even some young Israelis getting their information off of TikTok regarding the Palestinian genocide is really, really dangerous. And a lot of the videos and the horrific images of the IDF's and Israel's genocide of the Palestinian people are actually completely and totally made up, and these people are not educated. Really quick, before we take a look here at the clip, Prem Thacker, who is a reporter over at Sateo News, actually posted the clip and also posted this. Hillary Clinton will speak at an event for Israel Hayom, I don't know if I pronounced that right, run by Israeli-American billionaire and Trump donor Miriam Adelson. She'll join John Fetterman, Eric Adams, and a few others. You can see the entire list right there. We love John Fetterman here on this channel. He is one of our favorites. But without further ado, here is Hillary Clinton being the worst possible version of herself she could possibly be.
That our students, smart, well-educated young people from our own country, from around the world, where were they getting their information? They were getting their information from social media, particularly TikTok. That is where they were learning about what happened on October 7th, what happened in the days, weeks, and months to follow. That's a serious problem. It's a serious problem for democracy, whether it's Israel or the United States, and it's a serious problem for our young people.
It's a serious problem for our young people. She also says it's a serious problem for the United States and Israel's democracy. So we'll get to that in a second. But the first thing that I want to say is she said that young people are getting their information off of TikTok, and she said in the weeks, months after October 7th, and that's a problem. What happened after October 7th, Hillary? What has been happening even still now? You mean the genocide of the Palestinian people? Is that what you're referring to when you say that it's dangerous that young people are getting their information from TikTok, a platform that has been a very vital and crucial part in being able to display to the entire world the horrific things that have been done to the Palestinians by the IDF, by the Israeli government, by Benjamin Netanyahu, by people like Yoav Gallant, Ben Gavir. Is that what you mean? Because you were really and purposefully very vague, very unspecific there. So what did you mean by that, Hillary? Are you going to explain yourself? She's not going to explain herself, and whoever's on stage with her, whatever dipshit's on stage with her, obviously is not going to ask her to expound on that. But when she says it's really dangerous for the United States and Israel's democracy, really what she means is it's really dangerous because we're not able to control the narrative anymore. Zionists are not able to control the narrative when there's a social media platform such as TikTok where someone can post a video for the entire world to see of the absolutely very real, horrific genocide of the Palestinians that is happening. That's what she means when she says that. And I have this pulled up right here, which we're not going to go through this, but I just want to point this out. TikTok, which, for some of you who might not know, TikTok was briefly banned. There's been many calls to still ban TikTok. Critics renewed calls for a TikTok ban, claiming platform has an anti-Israel bias. And when they say anti-Israel bias, what they mean is it's very pro-Palestinian. There's a lot of pro-Palestinian content on TikTok. That's why people are pushing for it to be banned. And apparently Hillary Clinton sounds like she would be one of those people that would be pro-TikTok ban, because then the world is able to see through Israel's fucking atrocious and disgusting lies. But let's let Zionist Hillary Rodham Clinton continue here and call young students, even some young Israelis, as she's going to say here, uneducated about the history, and they don't know what they're talking about.
And it was frankly shocking to me how little the students we were encountering, not only in this class we teach, which is a very large class, international relations, about crisis decision-making, but students more generally. And that's why I mentioned the social media piece of it, because when you would try to talk to them to engage in some kind of reasonable discussion, it was very difficult because they did not know history, they had very little context.
So when you say reasonable discussion, what is the reasonable discussion when a apartheid regime who has an entire population living underneath their thumb. They control each and every goddamn thing they do and slaughter them left and right. What is the reasonable conversation to one country's committing a genocide against a group of people? What's the reasonable conversation there? Genocide is bad. That's the reasonable conversation. That's it. She also said these people didn't know the history, didn't know the context. Obviously, knowing the history of the Palestinian people, knowing how they have been tortured, knowing how their land has been stolen, knowing how they have been living under an apartheid regime for an extremely long time is very clearly important to the larger conversation here. But you don't need to know the history to understand that the horrific images of fucking children, babies being decimated, being shot, being killed, being bombed by the IDF is bad. You don't need to know the fucking history to know that killing babies is bad. I mean, what are we doing here? What the fuck are we doing here? This is the worst timeline that we live in. The absolute worst timeline that could ever possibly exist is this one we are in now. And I hate it.
And what they were being told on social media was not just one-sided, it was pure propaganda.
Everything, you're doing propaganda right now. Everything is propaganda. What is not propaganda? She's sitting, sorry. She is sitting on a stage with, from billionaire-backed news media, saying, this is all propaganda. What the fuck are you doing? You're doing pro-Israel propaganda. What do you mean that's all propaganda? Showing that there's a genocide happening in Palestine is propaganda? But you're not doing propaganda, right? She's not doing propaganda. Again, paid to be here. Nope, not propaganda. No propaganda here, not on this stage.
And so when you think about how to tell Israel's story, and it's important, it's not just looking internally, it's looking externally, and particularly looking at young people, because, you know, it's not just the usual suspects, it is a lot of young Jewish Americans who don't know the history and don't understand.
Yeah, young Jewish Americans that are against the genocide in Palestine, yeah, they don't know the history. Also, what did she mean? I really... Maybe you guys could help me out with this one. What does she mean, the usual suspects? That comment I found very interesting. Maybe someone who's, if you're still with me here, what did she mean by the usual suspects? She said it's not just the usual suspects. What do you mean by that? I couldn't figure that one out. I've watched this clip a couple of times, and I couldn't figure out what she meant by it's not just the usual suspects. I couldn't figure that one out.
I was talking to Condi Rice, and, you know, she said in an interview that I did after the 20-point plan came out, she and I were on CBS, and she said, you know, when people were chanting from the river to the sea, she would ask the students what river, what sea, they didn't know. I had the same experience. A lot of the challenge is with younger people. More than 50% of young people in America get their news from social media. So just pause on that for a second. They are seeing short-form videos, some of them totally made up, some of them not at all representing what they claim to be showing, and that's where they get their information.
So there's so much to she says the most utter bullshit, and yet there's so much to unpack because the stupidity in all of those statements she just made is truly astounding. It really is, even for someone like Hillary Rodham Clinton. And when she says videos that are made up, anything, this is the problem. This is a broader issue, but this is the problem when, you know, AI is blowing up and it's becoming as advanced as it is. People can just say anything that they don't like or don't agree with is AI. And she also sat there and said 50% of their young people, more than 50% of young Americans get their news from TikTok. She's using that word, not me. But I feel like young Americans, you know, she can sit there and say whatever she wants, but young Americans are, you know, are educated, and they realize that they're not going to trust the person who is paid by billionaires, by billionaire-backed media to go onto a event like this They're not going to trust the person that got paid to hold the microphone and do propaganda for them. They're going to trust what is actually happening, what is being posted on social media from the people living through these atrocities. They're going to be able to believe that and trust that a lot more than, Miss, I got a paycheck to be here from a billionaire. It's not hard to understand. She can sit there and say, just think about that for a second. Look at yourself. Look in the goddamn mirror. It would probably shatter if you did, but look in the fucking mirror, please. For God's sake. Just Zionists like Hillary Rodham Clinton have they do not have even a sliver of self-worth. They are just the most awful, disgusting, horrible human beings that unfortunately we have to share our space with. That being said, before I go on a rant that's going to get me banned and kicked off this platform permanently, that is going to be it for this video. If you guys like the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, press that little bell, turn on all notifications so you guys never miss an upload. And guys, please, 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 let me know what you thought of the video. Let me know what you thought of Hillary Rodham Clinton just being a terrible, horrible human being, just doing straight Zionist propaganda, but then calling people that are posting about the very real Palestinian genocide on TikTok, that they're the ones doing propaganda. Let me know what you thought of my coverage. Let me know what you thought, and I will see you guys in the next one.